Well, there are some things that are pretty difficult to understand, and that is the big bad truly that much of a coward that he would stoop that low? Or is it very possible that there is some hints of the light Ziggy inside of Dark Ziggy? In this case, though, I wanna wish that there is a light Ziggy inside Dark City, but no. I think in the end this was just a big bad being a cowardly deceiver. After all, he is everything the light Ziggy was not. Yes, this is Eden Zero Chapter 184 review from me, the Angry and Fan the Despair Reviewer, although I technically only review Eden Zero nowadays. And in this chapter, what happens? Well, it's basically as Elsie versus Ziggy. As they begin their clash up, and Elsie changes into her leotard and proceeds to clash. Just like before, it seems that she is actually capable of fighting extremely evenly with Ziggy. In fact, Ziggy himself has hardly even shown to be completely as badass as many things say it. Well, don't get me wrong, he has only fought strong opponents, and the fact that he can keep up with them, I guess that means that he is now a slouch in everything else. But, and also, it's worth noting that I absolutely loathe a villain, a main villain that is so seemingly unbeatable. So him being surprisingly beatable here is a refreshing take. It's just the problem with that, as well as with an ultimate villain, immortality until ending, is the fact that, you know, you just wonder how strong are they gonna get. It is also worth noting, although I don't really know if there's a reason for this either. However, I feel like Ziggy's fighting style is surprisingly a lot like Shura's was. Maybe there's, I mean, we all know that Ziggy taught some basics to Shura, and Shura liked to use telekinesis to crush things Shiki. I mean, he could fight hand to hand, but he preferred to use telekinetic gravity. And what I'm saying here is that not once does Ziggy call out a Maggie Mech attack. All he does is flipping up gravity, kicking Elsie when he can, and then throws things at her. I mean, granted, throw things with gravity is still dangerous, but he was supposed to be a natural to all this Maggie Mech attack. So why isn't he doing that? Either he's holding back, or there's another reason for that. Either way, Elsie manages to scratch Ziggy, who compliments her skills, saying that the little girl he knew long ago has become stronger, and is now equal to both Aknoella and Kro. And then proceeds to ask if Shiki is at her level. It's revealed that Elsie and Shiki have sparred before, but she doesn't know how strong Shiki is now. But she does believe that some backs ago he was almost at her level, because his desire to fight to protect was just that strong. And then she just proceeds to ask Ziggy, what made you change this much? And once again, Ziggy just said, well, we knew because we knew as the public, but they don't know. Yes, the fact that that was not the real me. I lost my memories, and without them I was idiot enough to raise a threat to the cosmos. Once again, he says and calls Shiki a threat to the cosmos. But once again, we do not learn why he is a threat to the cosmos. I mean, anything that this madman Ziggy said shouldn't actually be taken to face value. But there is something there that we are missing, and I'm just not so very sure what that is, to be perfectly honest. But on a brighter note, or sort of brighter note, is the fact that, well, maybe quasi-brighter note, is the fact that as Elsie managed to wound Ziggy. But then we switch into Shiki and the gang as they're being confronted by the skeleton army. It's a little bit embarrassing though that the army seemingly overwhelms them even though they destroy them. Simply because, well, there's an enemy stronghold and there's a lot of them, therefore they are still being outnumbered. So they're forced to run into a place where they manage to evade and lock it like a garage door. And so they are detecting that the pathway will lead to the core, but they're also expecting enemies. Back to the clashing of it all. Elsie just asks, why did he save her when he lost his memories? And Ziggy once again says the real him would never have said a human girl. So with that, Elsie tries to cast Gran Chariotto, but Ziggy evades it with Nero's power. But then she changes into her Leon Stardrain Leonard form. Oh, we also see a naked body on the meanwhile doing that, which is a treat. A trap ether called Total Eclipse, which is a very powerful boom. And in her Leonard form, she seems to be wearing a birthday suit and a very long coat. As this seems to damage Ziggy, she wields her swords and prepares to stab him. Well then suddenly Ziggy, with not glowing eye, just says to Elsie to run and take Shiggy's friends. Hearing those words unfortunately causes Elsie to hesitate, which is just the key of it all, as the glowing eye of Ziggy returns and he stabs her using her own weapon and the gravity power. All the while saying, "That's what it is, Elsie." So yeah, I mean, that final one was a very heartbreaking one, especially when we see a brief flashback of the light Ziggy patting the head of Elsie. But the bigger question though is, was that genuinely just Dark Ziggy being an asshole and manipulative? Because there's a very big trend here, and that is Dark Ziggy is surprisingly cowardly. I mean, I'm only alone in that. I know for a fact that TV tropes haven't written that down, but hear me out. He refused to face Elsie back then when he was revived because, well, they were not ready to fight her yet. Granted, that was maybe not cowardice, maybe that was pragmatism. But still, he had the Eden Zero. He wanted to conquer everything, and he wanted to attack, Eden's one. And he wanted to destroy the Zero. And then, yes, he decided to quit it of it all. He waited until Nero was attacked by the Interstellar to get into the chaos and attack Nero there. He mobilized Jaguar only for Nero to kill him because he knew he would do that. And then when Nero seemingly took off his head, he played possum so that Nero could be caught off guard and then he could kill him. And finally he boomed the galaxy with an attempt to take out just Shiki and the others. And not to mention the fact that he sends his army while he is doing that things himself. Granted, that may not be complete cowardice, that's pragmatism. So while you can argue that no, Ziggy is not a coward, he's just a pragmatic, it's very clear that he is also someone who does not want to get his hands dirty, unless he's absolutely forced to. But he still hesitates a little bit to do some things. He wants to build up his army and then he conquers, but he doesn't conquer them himself, he lets other people do it. It's completely contrast to Light Ziggy, who always were there to help everything else. Once again, just showing the amazing villain that Ziggy is. A complete 180 from Light Ziggy to Dark Ziggy. So the other question is, was that Light Ziggy that popped up there? Or was that just Dark Ziggy being an asshole? But as I said before, given the fact that Dark Ziggy is everything that Light Ziggy was not, that it's very likely that that wasn't Light Ziggy. No, that was Dark Ziggy pulling some cowardly emotional manipulation moments. Because if that really is, then that just makes Ziggy an even more unforgivable villain. Because who would taunt someone's emotion there? But it also shows that for all of Elsie's will, she is also still submitted to that thing. The question is, will Shiki also surrender to that all? And will Elsie survive? Well, who knows? But she is strongly wounded with a weapon now. I wonder what Justice will say if Elsie dies here. Probably he's gonna feel angry because, well, he wanted to kill her. Nothing else of it all. So yeah, that's basically this chapter. Still no clue on exactly what Dark Ziggy is hiding. But he truly is getting more and more scummy if he's using emotional manipulation to get an upper hand in a fight. So give me a false if you have any.